consistent. You could be, I don't know, the most confident, self-assured person, but you're still going to have those what ifs creeping into your brain and all those questions. So I think it's a forever practice, at least for me.
And I think that it's almost a mental skill. Well, it is a mental skill to be able to turn like that question mark into an exclamation mark, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense. Because I think obviously there's uncertainties, and uncertainty is tied to an uncomfortable feeling, which is often tied to negatives. But I think if you can turn what I mean by the question mark into an exclamation mark, is it's exciting. Like it's I
Hmm.
don't know, so it's exciting. And you might not believe it in your heart of heart, but like in your brain to send some signals to yourself to just go like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I just did some wildly cool things and what
Yeah.
else is out there?" Because welcome back to another episode of Briggs and Co. Friends, are you leaving average for Joe? Because that's the most important thing I want you to take away from this episode. It is truly an honor to have sat down with the wonderful Jessa Doll. She is an absolute incredible human and talented performer with loads of experience traveling on tour with incredible singers, as well as showcasing her skills on national television across Netflix, Paramount, Disney, you name it. She's got the creds for it. She is a Vancouverite, born and raised in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And she is just simply the sweetest human being ever. And I really think you're going to enjoy this episode. So please give a warm, well-rounded applause for Jessa Doll. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Jessa Doll.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's clear as day.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic. How are ya?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the sun. Edmonton, right now is beautiful. It's absolutely
Oh,
blue skies and sunny, which is nice.
oh, that's so nice. It just started becoming sunny here this week. I feel like we've had major June gloom over at least where I live. But
Really?
so yeah, it's been sunny the past couple days, which is so nice.
And whereabouts are you in Cali?
I'm close to the airport, so I'm a little bit more by the beach town. So it's like that marina layer that creates the cloud. If I lived in the valley, it's hot, hot, hot. But
Mm. So
yeah.
then to give, I guess, listeners an idea, how far would you be from like the major drop-in dance centers?
Yeah, so without traffic, it's about 35, 40 minutes. And then with traffic, I usually just try and leave about like an hour and 15.
Oh my heavens.
Yeah, but it's I'm used to it because when I lived in Canada, the like I lived on the outskirts. I lived more in the valley anyways, so I was commuting into the city each day anyway, so I'm used to that like 1 hour commute.
It's funny, I feel like the last few guests I've had on have
Yeah.
said that their travels to the studio or their travels to work has been their like moment to unwind or kind of listen to some music or listen to a podcast and just gather their thoughts, which is for me that's exactly what I did, but I never really knew it was like such a big thing for I don't want to say just dancers, but I mean like
Mhm.
having that time between classes or having that time before an audition, whatever it is, to like try and just get into that headspace.
No, absolutely. It's such like a great decompressing time and yeah, I drive to what is it, Orange County on Wednesdays, and that is about an almost a 2 hour drive. So
What?
I just plug in my podcast and I like have learned to like the commute. I mean, some days obviously it feels long, but I have my flow now with it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming on. I have been a longtime fan of yours and have the
Uh,
privilege of working with you. I want to, and not for I haven't gotten to work with you for too long as much as I would like. So I'd like to actually
Mhm.
get to know you. And um,
Aw.
if it's okay, can we take a step back? And I know I do this with all guests, but just sort of look at you as an adolescent, sort of that
Mhm.
16, 18 years, maybe like right before you graduated. Where were you at? What were you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, number one, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I we don't know each other super well, but I have enjoyed all the moments we have spent together, and I'm excited for today.
Yeah.
So yeah, so around, I guess around the time I was graduating, I was attending Langley Fine Arts High School. I was a dance major there where we studied modern syllabus. Um, Out of school, I went to a dance studio where I learned, I did all the different styles, competitions, conventions, things like that. So my high school years were pretty heavy in dance because we would have electives within high school, which was like choreography or musical theater, and then there was also our like our dance company within high school called a spree. And so I would have rehearsals in the morning before school. I would do all my academics, and then I would have my dance major during the day. Then maybe I would have rehearsals after school, and then I would take the Sky Train, or sorry, I'm fast forwarding here. I would go to like dance studio for like the rest of the night, and then in grade 12, I auditioned for the Source Dance Company, and then I switched from doing dance studio to that for my grade 12 year. So after high school or like after my day, I would take the Sky Train into the city and do my night with Source, which is a pre-professional training program, and then I would SkyTrain home, and then yeah, and then I would go to school the next day.
And then you would probably try and schedule like just a moment or two to breathe as well.
There was no moments.
Right.
Yeah, there was
Right,
no
right, right.
moments.
Holy heck. That is the reality of a lot of dancers I've spoken to so far.
Mhm,
You don't I like I looking at it now, I don't know about you, but for myself, I don't know, growing up, like I went to a competition studio. I did extra like clubs and crews and all of that stuff, but
mhm,
you're in it. You're so in it, like in that moment that you don't, I don't think, realize, like you don't even have a second to just catch your breath. And I personally like love that. I think it's very important, especially in like as a youth, like to fill up your schedule because you don't know anything about anything. Fill up your
mhm,
schedule with so much stuff and start to like be in communities and network and communicate and obviously it's athletics, so you're practicing good health and all of that stuff. But I think it's so important if you have any sort of passion or anything like that to do something, like go head
mhm,
first, especially when you're young. Just fill up your schedule with all of these extracurriculars if that's something that you have access to, because I know it's a privilege, but
mhm,
I really think it's important. And it sounds like so many, including you, did just that, like full
mhm.
on schedule from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. was go go go.
Yes. Well, and I completely agree with you too. I mean, I also think that, I didn't know anything different, and I was very lucky. I was an only child growing up, so I was very privileged to really, my parents threw me into everything, and it was like that from an early age. So, because they just wanted to see what I kind of took to and what I liked, and they were always so supportive. And yeah, I think that like hobbies and stuff as a kid is so important.
I have a question for you on this topic because I've had a few
Mhm,
people at my age now, like a couple of my girlfriends are becoming moms, and
mhm,
I also like as dance instructors and choreographers, we start to mentor and stuff. So I'm
mhm,
curious to know what your thoughts are on a parent, like a parental figure that has put their child in, and this is not like, I know we're no experts, but it's just purely
mhm,
opinions, that has a child that's like really unsure, that might be
mhm,
showing that they're not interested in doing it professionally, but they're kind of interested, they also want to dabble in something else. Like, Do you have any thoughts based on your experience on what to like how long do you continue to push the child in that, or how long like do you offer them another means? Like what do you think?
I think that, well, I think number one, the joy comes first. So, I mean, if there's no joy backing it, then there's no way they're going to be successful within it.
Mhm.
So, I think, but also I think kids are, um, they're a little bit all over the place. So, I think it's important just to, obviously, I'm just speaking from like my opinion right now,
Yeah.
and I don't know best either because I haven't necessarily been in that position. But I think my parents put me in horseback riding, they put me in swimming, they put me in tennis, they put me in um, I was really big into musical theater for a really long time with singing and acting. I think for me, acting was never something that I really super enjoyed. My parents really loved it for me because I was such an animated child, but I think that I didn't find joy in that. I loved like the singing and the dancing aspect of musical theater, but the acting was really scary for me. And so I think like maybe taking something that like a kid feels really passionate about, but if they're passionate about it, then really nurture that and grow off of it. But if they're not, then just switch to something else. You also don't want to, you don't need to push someone to do something they don't want to. I was in piano and I freaking hated it. And
Same.
it's like I'm not wanting to go to the lessons. I'm not wanting to practice. So we're really essentially just wasting time. Yes, it's a cool skill to have, but if I'm not joyful about it, then there's not really any point. I do think you need to try something for a good chunk of time to see if you like it or not, because it can be really scary at the beginning. So whether that's just fears of, showing that side of yourself or whatever it may be, but I do think you have to try it for a bit. And then if it's not your thing, then just move on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And I'm also going down memory lane myself, like thinking about piano, thinking about journal games, cross country, like thinking about all of these activities that I went in because my older siblings went into it. But you
Mhm.
could clearly tell what activities I truly enjoyed, found joy in, versus the activities that I was doing not for myself, but just for the green light from parents or from siblings because they did it themselves, and it was just the next step for me to do as well.
Totally.
But yeah, I just thought that was sort of something to think about because I know, like I said, there's some mums coming into my life now that have asked me
Mhm.
personally, like, my child likes to dance or my child likes, arts. Do I keep pursuing, like, pushing them into that, or do I introduce a new subject? So
Mhm.
it's something that, we have to consider when we become parents.
Yeah.
I,
I also think not having too many things, right? Like maybe try two things or three things at once or just two and then switch it up. Because also I think when you're like 6 and 8, I don't know. I don't feel like that's the moment where you're like, I want to do this for the rest of my
totally.
life. You're like, I love this. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for
Very
sure.
simple.
Okay, so now coming into you got into the source, and was that a 1 year program for you?
I did it for 2 years.
You did it for 2 years. Okay.
Mhm.
And would you recommend I guess, pre-professional, post-high school program?
Yeah, I would. I definitely think it doesn't need to be like a year-long program. I really like benefited from it. I really liked it a lot. I also just think just programs in general are really important. It doesn't matter the length of it, but I do think you need that guidance at that early stage to know what's going on.
Yeah, and I know that you just hold such a significant role in the dance community, both in the U.S.
Oh,
and Canada, and you're an incredible mentor to so many because you run
oh, thank you.
programs. Yeah, you run programs yourself. So I imagine that the source program or whatever other programs
Mhm.
you're a part of sort of had influence on how you've developed your courses and classes today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
okay, so now talk to me out of those 2 years at the source in Vancouver. Where were you at? What were you interested in? Tell me about like personal things if you can, like even just part-time jobs. Did you have to take on many? Like just
Mhm.
all of the colorful stuff in between.
Yeah, sorry. So you said while I was doing
No,
source?
right out of it.
Right out of it. Okay. Yeah. So out of that, I think, honestly, my memory's not the best. Out of source, I did, I was going to LA at that point, I think during the summertime and like over the years prior to that, after I graduated or, left source, I would go to LA and I would do summers there or weeks at a time. And I think that was the moment where I really was like, okay, I want to pursue a career in the US, specifically LA.
What captivated you?
So
Because there's so many people, and I don't mean to interrupt, but like there's so many
no.
people that will go dabble in either New York or LA or overseas in London, whatever it is. And either I find they know immediately, like, yes, that's for me, or no,
Mhm.
get me back home right now. I love my community. What made you, was it an immediate thing for you or?
Yeah, I feel like it was honestly, I feel like around grade 11, grade 12, that's when I was kind of I would go to a lot of conventions and I really loved learning from just like the choreographers that were teaching and like Lorianne Gibson and Galen Hooks. And
Mm,
I was always like, I want to work with these people. I want to, learn from them and dance for them. It was never about the artists for me. I was just like, I want to work with these people. And I'm like, okay, well, where do they live? Where do they do the work? And then I did like a few summer programs where they would have people come in talking about O1 visas, and it felt a little bit more manageable or, obtainable. Like, oh, I guess this is something I could do. And then I know when I was younger, my dance studio did a performance in Disneyland. And I remember sitting in the back of my car with my parents being like, oh, I'd love to live here one day. And and so I'll also like when I would do these summer trips to LA just to see if I liked it. Um, I just always really felt like such a strong sense of I wouldn't say community because I felt the community in Vancouver, but I just felt like I fit in a little bit more in LA. I always felt, when I was in Vancouver, I don't know. I've always just felt like a little bit like an odd duck. And there was something about whenever I would go visit LA, everyone was so like accepting and just like supportive, and not saying they weren't in Vancouver because they always were. It
mhm.
was just like a different sort of, I just felt like I could really like flourish and be myself in LA. And so I think that was a big drive for me, was being around that sort of type of,
Yeah.
those, I don't know,
It's a
those certain
feeling that you
circumstances.
get. It's a feeling that you get.
Yeah.
And it's and depending on where you are in the world, like you get these feelings and it could be comfortable, it could be uncomfortable. You might like it, you might hate
Yeah.
it, but you for some reason they're there. And so for
Yeah.
you, you felt a little more comfortable in LA. Maybe there was like a little more butterflies there for you to start to
Mhm.
see yourself grow and develop a career there. Did
Yeah.
you start to just like make connections by taking drop-in classes?
Yeah.
Did you get in a visa immediately because you booked a job, or how did that look for you?
Yeah, so I also like a big reason why I wanted to do LA was because that's where all the work was at the time. Now Vancouver is booming with work and like there's all this opportunity in TV and film, and just at the time there wasn't that. So if I wanted to do that sort of stuff, I needed to move. Um and how it looked was, yeah, so I would visit, I would make all my connections just through going to classes, going to workshops, like meeting other dancers around. I like going to parties, stuff like that, going to carnival. Like I really just spent lots of time meeting people and connecting with
Hey,
new
wait,
people.
pause, because I think
Yeah.
when I do any sort of like send me feedback, answer a poll, or whatever it is to listeners, they love to hear like behind the scenes. They love to
Yeah.
hear kind of horror stories on set or whatever it is. They love to hear
Mhm.
these like personal stories. So
Yeah.
I just want to ask if there's any like you mentioned carnival and it kind of sparks something in me because
Mhm.
not many
Oh,
people
okay.
like outside of the industry will know what that is. So can
Oh, okay.
you give a little insight into what what the heck that's about?
Yeah, for sure. No, Carnival is like a monthly dance showcase, where choreographers are featured and then they have dancers and you put on like this big dance show. I only did it once, but it was like the thing where you went and like mingled and networked and all that stuff. It was just like a big night each month where you went and, did all that.
That is so
Mhm.
funny because you see it happen like I think I don't correct me if I'm wrong, but was Carnival one of the sort of like OG choreographer showcases where there must be way more, but I think other cities, especially in Canada, started to replicate from
Mm,
Carnival in LA.
yeah.
Um, and it's such a interesting concept to me because there'd be choreographers from like the biggest artists that were on
Oh, yeah.
tour that would just like pop in and do a little set and then the night was over and then they would be ghost again and on these big
Yeah.
it's so cool to me. It's a cool concept. But within this time frame of your life, when you're kind of
Mhm,
just like, who the heck am I? What the heck am I
mhm.
doing? Can I really do this? Like, were you taking on part-time jobs? Were you getting money from someone else? Like, how were you paying for yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, at the time, like I was only visiting LA. I hadn't gotten my visa yet. So, yeah, I had part-time jobs in Vancouver. I worked at Bootlegger, I worked at a tanning salon, I worked at a pizzeria where I was a dishwasher girl. Um, and but I was also very much like my dance always came first. So if a big opportunity came up and I had to quit a job, I would just quit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it happened on like some occasions, and I probably didn't, exit the best way possible, but I was also younger. I would definitely handle it differently now, but
Right. And you're not the
um,
only one. That is so common
yeah,
when you're like, hey, like, here's my application, would love the position, but know that dance is first.
totally, yes, yeah.
So yeah, you were hustling, you were grinding. When did you really make the sort of leap into building your case for applying for an O1?
Yeah, so I was like collecting all my stuff kind of during high school. I just had a box in my room that I would throw evidence into. I had some really great mentors that like guided me. Louise, who you've had on your podcast before, she definitely guided me and helped me with that, and I'm so grateful for her. And just a lot of people just were so sweet.
Good.
And then so I built my package. There's like a whole checklist that you have to have. I had kind of a base package, and I remember going to a lawyer and being like, okay, like I'd like to apply. And he looked at my
And
package and
said
he's
five
like,
grand.
he said, no, he said, there's no
Oh
way.
no.
Go back and keep growing your package. And he was stern about it, but it was good. And so I went back to Vancouver and I, kept building my package, collecting the reference letters, doing work in the industry in TV and film. And then finally I went to this different place and the guy was like, yeah, we can get it for you. And so they sent it off, and yeah, then I got
Wow.
my visa. So I did a couple years of like, I signed with DaCosta out of Source.
Did
And then
they
I
come
did,
in to Source and peek around for
you
talent?
know what? I'm really trying to think back on that. Like I said, my memory is really because I just feel like so many weird, crazy things have happened to me in the industry. I forget.
Yeah.
But actually, how it all goes down.
Yeah.
But I think at the time, DaCosta, from my memory, was switching from, or they were adding the office in Vancouver because they were in Toronto at the time. And so Melissa was the main agent, and it hadn't fully opened yet. Like she was just opening it in Vancouver. And I think she had come into Source. She was friends with Joanne. She had come into Source, and I remember she would go to Triple Threat, and I was just a very I have just always been someone that's like, I'm going to shoot my shot.
I love you
And
for it.
so I remember being on Melissa a little bit, being like, "Hi, my name's Jessa," like, and just introducing myself and being like, "I want to be signed with DaCosta." And I would go up to her at the conventions and say hello. And I really was, yeah, in her face about it.
Yeah.
And she did sign me. And
Not to say
yeah.
not to say it was your sweetness and your kindness and your hellos, but it was also backed with your incredible talent.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so that is so I think it can't be overlooked the fact that signing with an agent is just such it's
Mhm.
not impossible to build a career without one, but if you are
Yeah.
looking for TV film work, I
Mhm.
mean, can you talk to the the rooms that you've walked into only like because you were a part of DaCosta? Because I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that you couldn't have gone to many auditions if you weren't signed.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely in Vancouver more so than LA. Vancouver is you need an agent. There's not really any ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
I will say if you do have like a connection with someone like a choreographer, one on one, like your besties, they really trust you as a dancer, things like that, then they might want to hire you, but then they'll probably get you in touch with an agent
Yeah.
so the agent can handle all the communications.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so definitely important to mention that. So can you do you have any memories? I know you're like trying to unlock a part of your brain that maybe hasn't been visited for a while, but
Yeah.
can you talk to us about any sort of very first gigs that you booked that kind of left you feeling like you laugh at it now, but maybe it was shocking at the time?
Um, you know what? I've been really lucky to have like every sort of gig I've done has always been like beneficial in some sort of way or like really meaningful. I've only had one bad experience, and that was something in LA. But when I first started, no, it was great. I did like the Surrey Olympic dance team with Kelly Kono, and she was so awesome during that process. It was so many of like our first jobs, or job, and she like had someone come in and do headshots with us, and she did a makeup lesson with us, and then she really taught us how to be like a professional dancer within a job
Oh,
setting
cool.
while she was still choreographing this long show with all these different pieces, and we would perform it. And but yeah, she still taught the experience like I don't know, she mentored a lot of us, which
Oh,
was really
I
cool. And
love
that
that. I
yeah.
I think that is so cool for me to hear because
Hmm.
there is a figure, Kelly, who
Hmm.
has so much under her belt, has so
Yeah.
much cred, if you will, did not need to go the extra
No.
mile to be a mentor, but chose to because that's the person that she is. And I think the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because I see it in you too. Like there's people in
Thank
this
you.
industry that do not need to do the extra things that they do for the up and
Hmm.
coming, but they've chosen to because that's just the type of quality human that they are.
Yeah.
And I almost wish that because I personally haven't, like, I didn't really experience that or haven't seen it too much, but it's been something that's been on my mind. Definitely, like you've mentioned her, but Louise is a
Mhm.
proponent for this. Like, she is a rock in the
Mhm.
industry. Jeff, like, there is a number of them, but I feel like even the before you really make it to the professional like TV film jobs, there's
Mhm.
opportunities for mentors and guides and teachers to
Mhm.
just go like the extra mile a little bit more if they can, if they see a student or if they see somebody who is, has the potential but is just missing like one or two things. Like
Yeah.
I can't say enough about that. So to hear that you had that experience with Kelly is tremendous, and
Yeah.
I think it does say something that has an effect on anyone. Like that doesn't even just mean for dance. Like that's in any industry, and any
Mhm.
sort of like extracurricular sort of athletic, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really unique and rare to find. Um,
Totally. And I think going that extra mile is, I mean, it's something that my parents always taught me in general, that you just go that little extra mile in whatever you do, and it goes a long way. And I think when you're dealing, like obviously Kelly, when she's doing all those extra things for us, she's doing it in hopes of like, teaching us and taking care of us. But when you're that kid and that's happening, it's like, oh, it's the most like incredible, sparkly, amazing thing. Like it's so your words and your actions as like someone in that position carry so much weight. So to just like brighten someone's day and like teach them something, just it doesn't take like, it doesn't take that much effort to kind of go above and beyond. So why wouldn't you, yeah, try and like
yeah.
change someone's life a little bit?
I think, and sorry, this is now going to bring me into another like avenue, but even for judging, even for
Hmm.
Like adjudicating, because you judge, correct me if I'm wrong?
No, I've only done it
You've
once.
only done it once. Okay, so
Yeah.
you've had experience though in the competition world, in that like
Mhm.
you've seen figures, you've seen roles, and I do it myself every year, but I still am sort of caught speechless sometimes, because I think that there's so much opportunity for judges, for adjudicators, to, because like you just said, their words hold so much weight. They
Mhm.
obviously, because they've had, experience, and they have credits, if you will, under their belt, but there's an opportunity for them to really change lives on the stage or whatever venue that they're, presenting at.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes you start to get in habits and you don't realize your weight that you have, but there,
Yeah.
it's huge. It's tremendous,
Yeah.
because I know, like when you're young and you're gunning for something,
Mhm.
for a position in this industry, anything, like any sort of extra comment or whatever it is, even if it's criticism, but it's constructive,
Yeah.
it goes so far. And I just think it's easy to forget that when you're in it for so long. But if I can say anything, don't forget that your words have value if you are in any sort of idol or like role model,
Mhm.
position.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And so sorry, I just wanted to go down that, but I want to come back. So
Mhm.
you finally built your case and you
Yes.
you got to LA. What were some first sort of seed round jobs that you booked there?
Yeah, so when I first moved, I you know what? It took, if I'm gonna be honest, it took me a really long time to book the bigger jobs. I definitely, like, had, I was working with some, like, programs and, like, doing music videos here and there and stuff like that, but, I didn't really do anything significant until, year 5. So it took me two visa renew or one visa renewal to kind of hit that dream job.
And was your heart like racing? Because I can only imagine the pressure that you feel as a Canadian
Mhm,
in the US, having to show that your abilities are, because O1 is an alien with a special talent, which I think is just so funny. You have to
mhm,
prove that you have a special talent that someone local doesn't have, or whatever it is that you're filling a role.
mhm.
Talk to us about pressure that you might have felt, or if you didn't, that's fine. But I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine like the feelings that you have when you're approaching that expiration date.
Yeah, I think that it's, you know, I definitely am not thinking, like, of the title per se, but I do just for myself, like, I have goals that I want to achieve, and even though I'm achieving, like, things on a day-to-day, it's like we have those bigger things, and so, I think it's more so not the feeling to keep up with a certain like status, but to more so be like, I feel like I'm running out of time to achieve like my bigger goals. Okay, like I just trust, because things are forever changing in the industry? Do I just trust that it's going to happen? Do I just do this renewal hoping that those big ones that I want are going to be around the corner, or am I in it for the ride, because it really is a ride and you have to sign up for it, because uh it's not, I think a lot of people move here thinking that it's going to be rainbows and butterflies within the first year, and that's just not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Do you have any advice for anyone that's thinking of building their case right now and starting to apply? Maybe they're just traveling back and forth to LA.
Yeah,
Yeah, what do
I
you?
think just like network as much as possible, collect everything, like any sort of um, like pamphlet, any sort of media, any sort of photo, pay stub, just anything, just collect it, because you don't know. There's been some things that I think are huge in my package, and they are huge, but my lawyer will be like, actually, this thing that's smaller this smaller music video you did, but you were featured, is going to be a bigger thing in your
Oh,
package.
interesting.
And I had no clue, and I probably wouldn't have even included it if it was myself doing the package, you know?
Wow.
So I think just to collect everything that you do, you never know what's going to really work and benefit you. So I think that's my biggest advice for when you're collecting everything.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, now I want to can I ask you like just a personal questions like
Yeah.
um just to pivot because I want to bring some I don't know, just get into who you are as a human and less so just
Of
as a
course.
dancer in the industry.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, okay, so are you a homebody? Like or were you fine? Yeah,
Yes,
you are.
I love being home. I love being home. I do also really like I do like being social, but my battery dies fast. Definitely from being on tour, I was taught, I think because I was an only child growing up, I'm so used to being on my own. I'm so used to being independent, having my own space. When I went on to tour, it really taught me what it was like to have I've had roommates in LA, and so it's not about that, but being around people 24/7 and having to be on when you don't feel like being on,
Mhm.
when just that social aspect. I feel like I could talk to a tree and a rock for hours now because of the social skills I learned, from being away on tour.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it builds some great communication skills. Hey, keeping on that tour note, what are your essential travel items? Do you have anything like on tour that it's a must?
I like chlorophyll for the airplanes. That's good for bloating and stuff. What else
I
do I
knew you'd
like?
have something not whack,
You know what?
something
I just
random.
like I'm such a big supplement girl. I think I always would have just like a million supplements in my bag because you just don't know your body's going to be run down. You could be feeling stressed in the airport. It's like you got a feeling, I've got something to help it in the bag.
here's here's Jessa in her
that
trench coat.
that
Um
are vitamins. That are vitamins. Let's be clear with that. What else do I like? I think just anything to make me feel cozy and like I can hermit. So any sort of like eye things, when I sleep, or headphones, like that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
no, for sure.
hmm
What was your favorite tour spot?
I loved. I have a few locations in Europe that I loved. Like I loved Prague, and I loved Austria, and I also loved Switzerland.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Get me to any one of those immediately. I spent a little time in Austria I think I was competing with Team Canada, and
Oh
I
yeah.
had the blessing to travel with family to Croatia, which was
Oh nice.
I think my favorite spot. But it's that area of the world. Oh, it's just
It's just so
stunning.
stunning. It's like a fairy tale book.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a fairy tale book. Okay, and was this with the Maluma tour? And I might be pronouncing that wrong, but was that the
No.
Maluma tour?
Yes. So I did two tours back to back. I did the 11/11 World Tour, and then I did the Poppy Juancho Tour.
Wow.
Mhm.
Do you love that lifestyle, or is there?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I definitely got tired, like tired. It's a very demanding job. It's very fun and obviously sparkly to be on stage, and but it's also very tiring in the same breath. And it's hard on your body. It's hard to be around people 24/7. But it was I mean, it's just a once in a lifetime sort of experience.
Oh, for
So it was
sure.
really incredible.
For
Mhm.
sure. Was there a moment in your career that was truly like pivotal in the sense that you went from, because I think as humans, we're always thinking that we haven't done enough. We didn't get to, the major things that we set off to get to, but
Mhm.
those markers are always changing the more things we accomplish. So it always feels like it's an endless sort of,
Yeah.
spiral of that
Mhm.
was there. But I do think, and this is me being optimistic, because I've started to get to it in my life at least, that you kind of start to settle into your kind of routine, you get comfortable in your own skin, you get comfortable sort of vocalizing opinions more and not having to, I think, just show face in an unauthentic way. Like there's just, you start to morph and change. And was there a pivotal time in your life when that happened, or are you like, Briggs, what the heck are you talking about?
No, I agree with you. I feel like for me, it's something that's forever happening and I'm learning because it's very hard in this like quick pace out in LA to always feel like what's the next gig? How am I being received? How am I, it's like a constant, you could be, I don't know, the most confident, self-assured person, but you're still going to have those what ifs creeping into your brain and all those questions. So I think it's a forever practice, at least for me.
And I think that it's almost a mental skill. Well, it is a mental skill to be able to turn like that question mark into an exclamation mark, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense. Because I think obviously there's uncertainties, and uncertainty is tied to an uncomfortable feeling, which is often tied to negatives. But I think if you can turn what I mean by the question mark into an exclamation mark, is it's exciting. Like it's I
Hmm.
don't know, so it's exciting. And you might not believe it in your heart of heart, but like in your brain to send some signals to yourself to just go like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I just did some wildly cool things and what
Yeah.
else is out there?" Because I now know myself based on my whatever 15, 20 years in the industry that I've
Hmm.
made it this far. I'm now excited because I know myself as a human that I'll land another role. I know that that's going to happen just based on my character and my experience, and I'm excited to see what that is. I don't know what it is in this moment, but I think it's important just for like you to start to find those tactics, so you
Hmm.
can switch the tone, switch the voice in your head. It can be so daunting because
Yeah.
it is a it's a tremendously tough industry. I don't even want to kind of like dance around that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um okay, so sorry, I like dove so much into some lessons that you've brought
No,
into
I
that.
love it.
Do you have any like un like off topic things that you want to explore in your life that have like nothing to do with dance at all, that would just kind of shock somebody to hear? Like, I want to be a biochemist, like, and not actually
Oh,
like that, but do you know what I mean? Something that's been on your mind that you might not have vocalized, but it's there.
um, I'm trying to find more hobbies. This is something I'm working
This
on.
is something
I will say I do love like skincare. I would love to do someone or be someone who gives like facials and stuff. Like if I was to break both my legs and like not ever be able to, I'd probably go to school to do that.
like is it esthetician, is that what that's called?
Yeah, I think so. Or you would have to go to esthetician school, but also photography. I love photography, and creative directing too, but that also I feel like kind of blends
Blends, yeah.
into entertainment. So,
Okay. Do you have a favorite? Okay, let me reword this. If you could get, sort of just like on your gravestone, a sentence, whatever it may be, that people would remember you not by, but you would want people to remember when thinking of you, what would that be?
oh, I don't know. That's a very hard question.
Is
I feel
it?
like I think about that. Yeah.
I love the question. I think it's Tim Ferriss that asks it. He's a podcaster, but
Mhm.
he says if you had a blank billboard and you could put up like
Mhm.
a billboard, what would it say? And
Yeah.
I think it just because you're limited with character space.
Yeah.
You can't write a novel, but it's like just a few words that sort of encapsulate messages. And I think that's something that's I always think about for some reason.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think there's a saying, frick, what is it exactly? It's something along the lines of um 10 seconds of courage could change your life. And I think
Mm.
that is really, really so important, especially within this industry, because you're not always going to have someone that's going to it's just you're not going to have all these cheerleaders and all these your agents aren't being like, put this girl in this, put this girl in this, put this girl in this, and you're not going to have everyone around you like advocating for you. So you have to be that person to put yourself out there. Even if you're like scared so much, sometimes you just have to take those risks of, let's say if you saw like a choreographer in the grocery store, man, you just march up to them and say, hey, I'm so and so. I'm a huge fan of your work. I would love to work with you one day. And then, something like that and I think that's what LA has really taught me is to like shoot your shot. And I said that earlier, but I really, really, I've gotten so many things because I've messaged people personally. I've gone up to people even when I'm so scared to, like at events or something, I just do it because the worst that they can say is no. I, of course, trust in myself to know that I'm going to do it in a really professional, kind, and calm way. I'm not going to be, pushy about it. Obviously, I'm going to pick the right timing or assess if it's the right timing to do something like that. Because I do think that's where some people mess up with that. They'll shoot their shot, but they'll do it at the wrong moment.
Yeah.
Or,
No, for
or in the
sure.
wrong way. You can say anything, but you have to say it in the right way.
Yeah.
And I just I think having a little bit more courage to put yourself out there, and just take those risks. And so maybe something along like that for
I
my gravestone.
I honestly, I love that. I really love that. And I think it actually pleasantly ties back to the fact that if you are in a role or a position to give somebody words of courage, 10 seconds
Mhm.
of courage in your words,
Yeah,
like, do it. Like,
yeah,
just frickin' do it. Because what does it cost you? Absolutely nothing. But what it
yeah.
gives them is a lifetime of motivation that you never know has just changed the trajectory of their career. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that that's so special, and I love that. And I'm gonna keep that with me
Okay.
if you don't mind if I may
Yeah, of
steal
course.
if I may steal that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
okay, what is your favorite way to recharge? Like maybe what is your favorite Sunday, I guess? And I know not Sunday is like a day off for everyone, but
yeah,
if that helps.
yeah. This is gonna sound so lame. You're an adult when I love to like open. I live in like one of my dream apartments I always wished for when I first moved to LA. I live in like a little house or like a little back house close to the beach.
Oh,
So I like to it's a studio, so it's small, but I like to open all the doors, all the windows. I like to play some music. I like to maybe pour a glass of wine
yeah.
and I like to just deep clean.
No,
I
I
love
was
to
so
deep
ready for
clean.
like, I don't
Yes.
know. I was just so ready for something and then the punchline was deep clean and I am floored.
You lost me.
Yeah.
You lost me there.
Do you
Yeah.
do you did that come with your independence of living somewhere else or did you always have that since a child like wanting
No, I was never tidy growing up. I don't know what it is. I think just because I'm a little bit of an anxious person, I find that when I have a task to do, like something like that's easy and simple, I just can get like lost and I decompress. I also love like if there's days where I'm feeling like really anxious or something, uh I used to love finding pieces of furniture on the road and like redoing them and like painting them and sanding them and stuff like that.
Oh, that's
I
so
also
cool.
yeah, I love going for beach walks. I live close to like a pier, so there's tons of seals all the time. So I love watching like the seals and listening to podcasts and things like that. That's kind
Yeah.
of how I decompress.
Okay, I have about three fire round questions just to sort of because I'm aware of time to wrap things
Okay.
up. And I mean, I always say these are going to be quick, but for some reason I always ask follow-up questions. But if you could have dinner with someone from the past or a fictional character, who would it be?
You know what? I'm not good with these types of questions. Because you know what? I just really got to think about it. I'm not sure. I honestly am not sure.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
We'll move
No.
past. Okay, what would be your one superpower?
Oh, oh, I think this is gonna sound crazy, but I think just to have the superpower of not, I think completely 1000% being like yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, that's very deep because um, I think that's something that's really hard for people to do. And I struggle. I feel like I'm myself, but it's also, I'm uh, not as scared to be myself and to show my true colors to everyone.
I
I
think
think that,
that
yeah.
there's the word is escaping me, but it's in our nature to be aware of other people, and it's a response to like sort of like a fight or flight response. It comes from our, like, literally as sapiens. Um,
Mhm.
it does come from a point in time just in our chemistry, and it did
Mhm.
protect us. It does protect us, but I think that we don't like the fact that we restrict ourselves from doing things because we thought somebody else would think of us poorly or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments where you're like, no, like, I pull myself up by the bootstraps. I got this. I'm
Mhm.
going to do it regardless. But I think
Yeah.
that because I'm in my head all the time, I think we naturally are as humans, but there is
Mhm.
something to say about, we do that to ourselves for specific reasons. I just can't remember what the specific word is.
Mhm.
But it's easy to be hard on ourselves to say, like, I wish I didn't think so much about what other people think. But
Of course. It's so easy to be like, yeah, I don't care. I'm like, you do care.
yeah.
You're just hiding it a little bit better than the
Exactly.
rest of us.
You
Yeah.
do care, and that's good. I think that
Mhm.
there's an amount that you should care and not care, but I think the
Yeah.
element of caring is a good thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Okay, so if you could have sort of like a death row meal or last meal on earth, what would it be?
Mhm. Oh, I love mussels in wine broth with bread.
Oh, delicious.
Yes, with like a nice, like dirty martini. She's going out fancy.
If you could live anywhere else in the world other than Vancouver and LA, where would it be?
Mm. Um, probably Europe. I'm trying to think specifically where.
Yeah.
I think somewhere really coastal, um, like south of France, like somewhere close to the water. I have to be close to the water. Somewhere that's chill, 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 chill.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not. I think too much hustle bustle stresses. Yeah, it
Oh,
stresses
sorry.
me out.
I thought
When
you meant like chill as in the weather. I'm like, oh, girlfriend. No, no,
oh
that's fine.
no, 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 no. You like the
Okay.
heat.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Okay, and then my last but not least is, if you had something to say to your younger self, maybe,
Mhm.
16 to 18 or early 20s, what would you say?
Yeah, I think and I say this to all the youngin ones,
Yeah.
just try and give yourself more grace because it's so easy to get like be so hard on ourselves, but it's not. It can get to a point where the perfectionism is too much, right? And it becomes detrimental and it's too toxic. So you have to loosen those reins and give yourself more grace. You're allowed to fuck up.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Like I said so many times, really appreciate the role that you're taking in this industry, but also just the human being that you are, because it is
Oh,
such a gift to get to know you. And I hope that we can cross paths again in the
oh my gosh,
future.
I can't wait. It's been too long. I can't wait to see you.
I know, maybe a glass of vino, and I'll help clean. Fine, I'll help clean.
Yes, we're gonna have a great time.
Okay, all the love to you. Take care, and
Thank you so much, Briggs. I really appreciate you having me on here.
yes, of course. Okay, take care, Jessa.
Woohoo!
Bye
Bye.
bye. A rapidy rap, another fun episode of Briggs and Co. Are you leaving average for Joe? And I don't mean that in such a humorous way. I really do want you to reflect on your current activities. Are you leaving average for Joe? They can be as minute as possible or as extravagant as you'd like. It is up to you, but at least get in that mindset, because it's fun when you do. Life gets exciting when you do. Anyways, that was really, really fun for me, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for another episode of Briggs & Co. launching next week. Same time, same day. See y'all there.